Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Berry ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, an American pop rock group active from 1960 to 1971. I questioned Gary on his name, the group's name, and the ladies responsible for their hit records.
Gary Puckett with the Union Gap is on the air with us this morning. When I say Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, am I saying that right now? You still have you have a Union Gap together? I mean, do you own the Union Gap?
Well, I have a Union Gap. This is not the Union Gap, and I don't even call this the Union Gap. This is the Gary Puckett Band, but we still do what the Union Gap did. You know, we do all the hits and the things that people would recognize. But that group hasn't really been together since 1971.
How did you come up with the name? Of course, you apparently started the group, otherwise your name wouldn't be in front, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, right?
Well, you know, I didn't put it in front in the beginning either. I just called it the Union Gap. But it was basically the record company that thought that I belonged in front somehow. The records being what they were, they didn't really sound like a band. They sounded more like a singer, you know, that was orchestrated. And I guess in a sense it was fortunate for me because it allowed me, you know, some personal sort of recognition. The band was always a partnership with me up until the point that we broke up, you know, so I felt that they were as big a part of it as anybody was, but it was such that the record company said, well, the voice is out front, so let's put his name out front.
All right, Gary Puckett, your real name?
Yeah, now would I change it to Puckett?
Well, I was going to ask you how you came up with that, if you did. How did you come up with the name of the Union Gap?
Well, at that point in time, I was real interested in sort of, I don't know, fascinated with the Civil War period in time, and I used to read a lot about it and found myself at one point thinking that it would be a real neat idea for the band to be dressed in Civil War uniforms because we could all be the same and yet all be different. So, at that moment, I just thought, well, Union Gap is a name that I kind of grew up with. I lived in Washington State, Yakima Valley, actually, and there's a little town there called Union Gap. It's not so little, really, but it's where the river and the railroad goes through the southeastern part of the hills. And I think that Union Gap had been there, you know, during that point in time. In fact, there was a little fort that was a cavalry installation, I believe, called Fort Simcoe, south of that. And so I thought, well, Union Soldier, Union Gap, why not? What's in a name? You know, it meant something to me, and I figured that it would have some sort of impact, and I think I was right.
The ladies were certainly good to you back in the late 60s. Young girl, lady willpower, woman.
Yeah.
This girl is a woman now.
That's right.
You guys were kind of hung up on the ladies there.
Well, what guys aren't hung up on ladies? Tell me that.
What is the story behind Young Girl? Is that a true story? I mean...
Well, you know, I don't want to blow any images here, but Young Girl is really kind of a fabrication in a sense, you know. I mean, I think we've all had those experiences to one degree or another, but our producer, Jerry Fuller, was a very talented guy, and when we had our first record, Woman, that sort of dictated the direction that we were going in. And so the song Young Girl wasn't really written about any particular girl. It was, you know, kind of written about them all, you know. And done in such a way that, you know, we hoped to follow the success of Woman. The same for Lady Willpower. We wanted to stay on that track because you can't argue with the success of those records because Woman sold about 1.5 million copies and Young Girl sold about 2.5 million. So you don't want to make a big departure. You want to stay with it and, you know, see if you can't continue to sell product and, you know, further your career and your reputation.
Sure, whatever works. Which one's your favorite, and we'll play it.
My very favorite is Woman. I think it's a wonderful song. Hi, this is Gary Puckett with Bob Berry and the Early Morning Team. Now, I don't know what I'm doing here so early in the morning, but he's really happy that you're here.
Bob Berry.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all the episodes at WisconsinBroadcastingMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Angels Kids Fund and Donate Life Wisconsin. The preceding program was made possible by a generous contribution from Terry Vaughn.